morning. Good morning. Thanks everyone for being here. All right. So we are going to dive right in and I'll just, let's see, I want to make sure I have the right screens up. So, of course, you received the e-construction monthly newsletter today. I'm going to continue to iterate this because it's so very important. I want to make sure that you're noticing the trophy towards the bottom of the newsletter. That is the opportunity to highlight a HeadLight documentation pro, someone that we want to acknowledge, individuals that are true HeadLight heroes. We want to give them the spotlight. Make sure that we're utilizing that. Is super important to make sure that we're highlighting those that are doing a great job. And look, I'm going to go as far as that even if you want to nominate yourself, please do. It is okay to give yourself a pat on the back every once in a while and to congratulate yourself for a job well done. So please, next month, I want to ensure that we have multiple HeadLight heroes that are nominated and give them the spotlight going forward. So please don't forget about that, if you will. All right. So next, I have a couple of updates. The latest version of the materials app is version 1.8.11. And I'm going to put that in the chat for you. And just so you know, we promoted the recent changes from the materials app to web, so they match the latest version of iOS. So everything should be looking coordinated, if you will, across the board. Just let me know if you have any questions there, but just make sure you have the most recent materials app downloaded. All right. And I am going to share my screen. And if I remember correctly, this may have been something that we were working with Kevin Barbier on. But if not, either way, it still applies. So the lot number and lot number were not populating properly in the form. But know that this has been fixed. This is a screenshot of the issue that some of you were experiencing prior to. If you can see here, the sublot number was showing no results found. I currently have the same project pulled up, and I'm just going to go and add an asphalt roadway form. And if I go to fill out the form, good morning to those of you that are just joining. We're just pretty much getting started. I did put the most recent version of the materials app in the chat for you. So if you just want to make sure that you have the most recent version of the materials app, that would be great. Thank you. And now we're discussing a scenario where the lot and or sublot number on the asphalt roadway form was not properly generating. It was showing no results found. I just went into a project in HeadLight and selected a form. And now you can see that the drop downs are actually there for the lot and sublot numbers. So that has been fixed. Thank you for reporting that. Continue to let us know, if there are any issues that are arising, so that we can get those addressed for you.
Well, the sublot number. Do we have a lot number and sublot? Okay, we have the lot number, say 212 or whatever.
Okay.
Our sublot numbers are actually letters, A, B, C, D, and E.
So the sublot number should not actually be numbers; they should be letters.
That's not
sure
necessary.
how everybody else.
In LaPave, their numbers, I can tell you that, Jimmy.
It'll
Let me hop.
depend on who you are.
Yeah, let me hop in on that. So I had this
Okay.
discussion. The reason there are numbers here, Jimmy, I use letters, same thing, A, B, C, D, E. When I was in the field, LaPave does numbers 1 through 5. And so that's why this is 1 through 5, but they mean the exact same thing. So no worries there. But I'm with you. I wish it was letters because that's what I'm used to, but it really doesn't matter.
Yeah, just making sure everybody's on the same page.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jimmy, for bringing that up. And thanks, Kevin and Les, for the clarification. I appreciate it.
And if you don't mind, can I follow up with a question? The resolution GMM that I see at the bottom right of that first subsection of the project, is that for a dispute or is that for the GMM verification?
That's for the dispute. So if the roadway car would fail, then that's when it goes to Christie at the Mat Lab for
Gotcha.
review, and then that's that car. The GMM, the
Uh-huh.
one right next to it, that's the one from the plant that you're gonna use
Okay.
to determine your percent, like 92% passing or
Now,
whatever.
what about your GMM dispute?
That so that yeah, if your GMM fails or y'all disputing that, the resolution GMM, that's what goes to the to Christie at the Mat Lab.
Yeah, your GMB, your bulk. Where's that one?
That's not on here. That's it's going to be on a plant in LaPave.
Okay, but that's not going to display on here.
No,
Okay, I'm just curious. Is there a reason why we put one and not the other?
because the GMM is what you're using to determine the pay. So I guess they wanted you to see that. That I'm not 100% sure. Les might know.
Well,
I don't really know what those are, but Jordan, just realize this is a field form and mostly for the field person. Even most of the field people don't care about GMM or GMB when they're paid.
yeah, and that's why I was wondering because GMM is just the if you want to call it the denominator in calculating your percent pay, and their GMM is the numerator. So if you have one on there, if you feel the need to have one, I would think you would need both, right? If you felt like that was important to the form. This is
The plant GMB is not what's used, it's the core GMB. So if you scroll down a little bit.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so you have it at the bottom.
Yeah, keep scrolling. There's a section for roadway course right there.
Oh, okay. So you have the GMB dispute in here?
And there's where your bulk is at.
Yeah,
Right?
but
And then it shows your percent density as well.
the resolution or the dispute, that wouldn't be on here.
I don't think they have a section for the dispute portion yet. Oh, that's still handled LaPave.
That's fine. I was just wondering whether or not that's something we have on here.
Yeah, and this information should get populated after you fill out LaPave. It should get resynced and populated back in here.
Got you.
And
Thanks,
if there's a
Chris.
dispute, I don't know what it does. I think it's just going to pull whatever value was listed as the active in LaPave.
Okay, so if the GMB changes, I would have to make sure I change the GMB in LaPave so that it's
Yeah. Well, LaPave accounts for it. So like I said, I think it just reports whatever GMB was used in LaPave.
Okay.
It pushes it here. Or GMM was used in LaPave, excuse me. It pushes it here. But how often does that happen? I think we've only had like 3 disputes in the last couple of years, and I know there's a few where you use the broken down core, but not too terrible.
Yeah, we've had it recently, specifically for GMM. But GMB, I've done it once.
All right. Thanks so much for asking, Jordan. Thanks, Les, Kevin, and Patrick for chiming in. I appreciate it. Any other questions so far? All right. Thank you. The next thing I wanted to quickly run through is in contract administration. So we added the ability to add a funding category to the project and also be able to properly delete if needed. So here you'll see that the previous view for the funding source details There was only back and save, no other information here, no other options here. Right now, you'll see that there is edit back in this gear. And let me show you live what this gear actually does. This is where you're actually able to delete if needed, if you have proper user access and things of that nature, and make any updates here in Contract Admin. Les, is there anything that you wanted to add about when that should be leveraged or not?
Yes, well, I want to back you up just a minute here. I don't
Yeah.
think anybody on this call except for E-Construction has even seen the screen. So nobody has seen contract administration yet.
Okay.
They probably don't know what that is. But since you're on here and you're looking, this is a good sneak peek at the contract administration software. This is what HeadLight has been working on as we move towards getting rid of Site Manager. And it's actually good that Tranisha is showing you a little sneak peek of this, because I think I was going to give you a sneak peek of the change order form today as well that goes along with this. So um, you can see it's pretty simple software to show here, but as far as funding categories, I don't think anybody on the call, except for maybe Patrick, even understands what that is. I don't. I'm on all the meetings and I don't even know what it is. So.
Okay, understood. Well, I'm a little ahead of everything, everyone, but like Les said, at least you're able to see some of the work in progress and how it's coming together for contract admin. So apologies that I jumped the gun on this one.
No, thanks, Tanisha. We're glad you're showing everybody a sneak peek of the software. It's good.
Perfect, perfect. Sounds good. I'm not going to ask if you have any questions because you probably have a ton. So we're going to hold on questions for contract admin. But just wanted to show some of the updates that were made to make things a little bit simpler so that when you do have access, you'll be, it'll be as efficient as possible.
Hey, we've been going around the state promising everybody that we're working on this. This is proof that we're
Right.
actually working on it. Even though it's taken us a while to get it in place, we are actually doing the work. So
It is actually being done for sure, for sure. One other quick thing from me, there was an issue with undoing some deleted observations in Fieldbook, and this has been fixed. So now you can actually undo an observation and it'll actually stay deleted or not, depending on which you want it to happen. So there was an issue with when you were undoing the observation, it was being completely deleted and it actually shouldn't have been. So now you can see the undo option right after the observation is deleted to redo the observation. I hope that makes sense. So basically, if you delete an observation, you can immediately undo the deletion and get back in Fieldbook if needed.
Tranisha, is that on the iPad and web?
Yes, so this should be on both. I did not have iPad set up to demo, but this should be on both. And actually, I'm going to confirm that, Les, after I pass it over to you, just to make sure I'm giving the right information. I'm just going to make sure it's on web and iPad for you in just a second.
I'm sure that it is, but
Yeah, it should be, but I just want to confirm as well, just so everyone knows that you have the functionality on both options, but I'm going to confirm that in just a second. Any questions for us? Actually, I didn't have too much today, but hopefully this was helpful for you. Any questions before I pass it over to Les? All right. Thanks so much, team. I appreciate you.
thanks, Tanisha. Kevin Barbier, did you want to do the sample, or are you going to show them how to do the sample?
Yeah, I have two of them. I'm not gonna click on them because they're actually ongoing projects. I couldn't get it in the test one, but I can pull it up once you get the email and then show you what you got to click on. So once the your roadway core has passed, and you should get an email, and when you get an email, you gotta come click down here and you can click on review.
So real quick, everybody, we discovered last week, I guess, I know I didn't know, and maybe a few other people didn't know, is that in LaPave, you can actually go and approve
Not showing it?
your roadway reports
Oh.
in Pave. So I think that's what Kevin is showing us here, right?
Yes. So it's still not showing. Okay. Did it come up? All right. So you got the DLE authorization and you got the PE authorization. So in this case, this would be the DLE. He would approve it if he looked it over and everything was good and the lot was complete and he get this, he'd click on it and then it would send an email to the PE, and then the PE would have PE authorization. He'd click on it and he would be able to authorize it for that. And then once it's authorized, then the lot would go through and you would get a, the percentage and everything. That's how you close out the roadway cores once the lot has been approved. Once it goes through the dispute and everything and it's been approved, that the lot is closed, then the DLE would come in and authorize it. And then you generate another email and the PE would come here and authorize it. And then the lot would be closed. Y'all want to see an example? Brandon can share his screen and then show you an example of the PE approving his.
Hey,
Kevin, it looks like the app pool's locked up right now. I'm trying to get it recycled.
Okay.
Kevin,
Yes.
currently LaPave does not shoot that email to the teams.
Well,
I'll dig through. I'm looking at a few other email notifications. So I'll double check that one as well.
Brandon, I'm here with Brandon and he said Francis had to email it to him.
Okay, I think a few of them are if you signed up for the preliminary failing notifications early on. I think we're going to change that where it always sends to the PE designated and site manager, which is another reason if you move around or people move around, you need to make sure that the PE designation is updated as well.
All right, Brandon said he'll show you an example of him clicking on it if you ever get it recycled.
Waiting on OTS.
Okay.
Thanks for that, Kevin. We can come back to that later if we need to. So also, what about the sample? Do you want to show a material sample or how not, or you want me to do it where you show how to uncheck all of the
Okay.
labs? Do you want to do that or you want me to do it?
No, I can do it.
Okay.
Let's see if I can get it to come up. So when you go to create a sample, what we've been having some issues with is when you choose your destination lab, there's a box I'm going to click on in a minute, and it's basically showing that all labs basically through the whole state was checked. And so like that sample would go to every lab around the state, not just the district that you wanted it to. Oh, well, now it's not checked. So I found yesterday, I did 2 of them yesterday. One was checked and one was not. I don't know if it makes a difference on certain things that you material code or something that you use.
I think it probably does. Yeah.
Because I did one yesterday and I want to say it was a roadway one. I can try and put it in. And this basically right here, the default lab section was clicked on and it's green, and then it checks every one. So when you fill out a sample, just make sure that you turn this default lab off and then choose the lab you want.
Yeah, we've had a lot like that. We've had to uncheck.
So HeadLight is working on correcting that. They are going to turn off the default lab so you select the right one. This is kind of an interim step that we're trying to explain to you, just making sure you uncheck that because, all of the labs are getting these samples that they really don't have anything to do with. So
yeah, just checking. Like I said, it might depend on what material code you use because I did 2 yesterday and one did it and one did.
Les and Kevin, that goes back again to when we were building that global sampling plan with site manager materials. there was an option to when you're building that global sampling plan that you could apply default lab units depending on what the material code is and how all that information didn't transfer over correct.
Yeah, and that's what happened here, Kevin, is HeadLight was working on that, and some of the district labs set their defaults up, which we want because that makes it easier for the inspector. But then this one thing, with certain material codes, it defaults to all. And so that's causing problems on another front. And of course, we have to go make the adjustment there. So, but yeah. Okay, thanks, Kevin. Barbie, I appreciate you showing those couple of things.
You're welcome.
So, any questions about any of that stuff before we move on? All right. So, like I was saying earlier, since Tranisha gave you a sneak peek, I think actually let me go over this other thing first. And this will be, I think I froze up. Can y'all hear me? I think I froze up for a minute there.
Now we can hear you.
Okay, good. So let me go to the test project. All right, so and I don't think a whole bunch of people are using this currently, but I did have one unit that was trying this a couple weeks ago, and they informed me that they found the problem. So we just found out about this a few months ago, really. So the form, the ADA ramp form that HeadLight created for us, which if you've not used it, it's really cool. It's a really nice form. It does a lot of automation for you. I'm going to go to fill out form so you can see what it looks like. When you're measuring and trying to pay for the ADA ramps, there's a lot of slopes and stuff like that you have to check. And so you could click on each one of these, whatever. We had 13 types of ramps, and then each one you could do an ID number, you could put your station, you could grab a GPS location of that ramp. And all of this was being done, developed kind of, I think DOTD has been moving towards a statewide ADA plan that they want us to adopt, and where we have to pretty much document where all of our facilities are and, put a plan in place. I think they call it a transition plan. And we're trying to put a plan in place to get everything updated and up to the new specs, which of course would take forever and lots of money that we probably don't have. But, this was all kind of a push to move towards that. And so HeadLight did this form for us, and it's really cool. You can put and you can see what the standards are for each slope here. So if you put something, that's out of tolerance, it gives you a red deal, and that was okay. There are some things that are just going to be out of tolerance, and so when you're documenting it, not like new things that we're paying for, but old ramps that you would be documenting, it might be out of tolerance. Or there are some cases where you just can't fit a ramp in because of right of way or utilities or something like that. And so we were telling people, if you document that and it shows up a little bit out and you've done everything you can do to get it in spec, but you just can't make it, leave it red, because we want to have true documentation of what that ramp is. And so all of that being said, there's several types here, and each one kind of fit the standard plan and had the correct standards in here. But we found out, this is not looking like I want it to. Let's see. This is the standard plan, and it's kind of grayed out here, but if you see, this was signed and changed in 2022, and we were unaware till maybe 7 or 8 months ago. So now there are only 8 types of ramps. And so I'm saying that to say that now the HeadLight form does not match the new standard. And so HeadLight is aware. We have told them this form needs to stay in place because we still have contracts out there that have the old standard, right? So you might have a type 12 a type 12 ramp on your project. And so we need to be able to utilize this one but we are working on the new form for this one. And I'll just be honest with you, that work has just been kind of put in, and so it'll be a while before it's ready. So if you have a project with the new standard, you're going to have to go back to the old way of documenting. Now, a couple of these ramps are the same. I believe maybe the type 1 looks the same. They're just different numbers. So it's possible you could use the old form to document these, but be aware that some of the slope requirements and stuff have changed, and so it might not be 100% accurate. And that's why it's probably best just to kind of go back to what you were doing before on that. So just wanted to make sure everybody's updated and noted that there is an issue if you have one of the newest contracts with that. Any questions about ADA ramps? Like I said, I only think there was maybe 1 or 2 units that has even been using that form, so it might not be affecting you very much right now anyway. All right, if there's no questions, we'll move on to something new. We'll give you another sneak peek of what's coming. Now, this is not going to be a comprehensive overview. I'm not going to go through everything, but we do want you to kind of see what this is. And so I'm in the test project here under forms. I'm just going to go to create new. And so this is, HeadLight actually created this form for us a long time ago. Most have not seen it yet just because we've not moved it. We have decided not to roll this out until we're kind of in the contract administration software. It did get rolled out for the CMAR project here in Baton Rouge because they are HeadLight only. And so they have been using the change order form and honestly the partial payment form as well. So I'm going to select the change order form. One of the things that this form could possibly do for you, and I think it was something that was interesting to me. I'm not sure if we would use it or not, but I think if I were an inspector, I would, still an inspector and I had this form, I think it would be good in some cases. When you have a very experienced inspector on a job, sometimes they can recognize early that something's going to be a change order, right? And so if the inspector has this form out in the field on their iPad, they could initiate a change order through image capture, right? So it's like if you see something that's like, I think that's going to be a change order, you can immediately create this form and start adding images, right? And then kind of submit it to the PE for review. And if it's something that's not a merit, the PE can easily void that form and just not worry about it. But if the PE says, oh yeah, I see what you're saying, that's definitely going to be a change order, they could go ahead, and it gives them a head start in the documentation they need for getting that change order through the list. So something that's new. We have not tried that before at DOTD, but I think it's something that's interesting, and I think it might be helpful for the PEs out there. But anyway, so let's just take a look at what the form looks like. So it follows the basic rules of everything that we have before and kind of matches what is in, what we've been doing through Site Manager already. There's a general description here where you can type out all of your general information. Now, we here at headquarters have been talking about templates for a couple of years now, and some of that stuff has been put out there for you to use. We are probably going to get HeadLight to adjust this form in the future to be able to select a template for you to use because we still want to use that. But even for now, if you have that template, it's very easy to copy and paste into HeadLight stuff. So that's not going to be a problem. This seems kind of small, but I wanted everybody to know that you can grab this and pull it down and give you some more room to type. Even if you're just typing in there, it's going to auto adjust for you. Obviously, there's drop downs for selecting your categories of change orders. If FHWA is involved, all of the same reason codes that you would normally use. I'm not going to look at all that on here, but basically, if you're making changes to a line item or adding new line items, it's as simple as clicking and having searchability, just like everything else in HeadLight. So if you know you're working on pipe, you can type in 701 and pull up your list of, this is the entire list of items. So even if you know more information about what you're trying to do, you could type more than 701 in here and pull those up quickly and adjust quantities, new cost per unit, that kind of thing. With all forms, there's ways to add comments. So if, say the inspector did initiate the change order, the PE could even drop some comments back to him and say, hey, this looks like it might have merit. Can you grab me a couple more pictures and add in here? Whatever that case may be, there's a way to add comments. And those comments can be hidden from the PDF or shared in the PDF. Again, with HeadLight, you're able to add those images here. There's two ways. You can add them directly into the form or select a group of pictures in the journal and add them to the form that way. And then one thing I think is going to be really good for us is being able to add your files and your documentation directly to the change order. I think that's going to be handy for you. And obviously every time you add an image or a file here, it creates an observation in field book. So I think that's going to be good. And then obviously the submittal process, which we have on almost all of the forms so far. When we turn this on, it'll have actions here where you could submit and then approve under each, under project engineer, contractor, district area engineer, that kind of thing. I'm not going to fill that out. To be honest with you, I've never done a change order before, and so I'm probably not the best at filling that out, but we do have a project engineer that's been working in this project. So Kevin Adams, I'm going to share one of your change orders. Let's see. There was one where you kind of dropped a template in it. I think it was this one. So we'll go to fill out form here just so you can see what it looks like. Filled out. And you can see, so he kind of dropped in a template here of what you would fill out with all the reason codes and everything I just kind of discussed with you. You can do it auto calculates your amounts and adjustments and that kind of thing. So I believe it even selects who approves according to the category, which it looks like. So this would be category 3 with FHWA involved. So again, I think it's going to be good. I think it's something that will be useful for the PE offices to start utilizing once we get you there. So like I said, this is just a sneak peek, and any questions about the change order form?
Les, I did plug in another one also too that was copy and pasted from a different project if you want to show that.
Sure.
The best thing, what I like on this form, the little bit I played around with it, is the line item is filled out for you if you're adding pay items. We don't have to do that anymore. Yeah,
that's kind of what I was thinking also, Kevin. Being able to search and select and have it fill out for you is usually better. Do you know which change order it was?
There it is right there, form number 31. Yeah, that's copied and pasted from a project that we had already turned in.
Okay. Yeah, so this one actually has some, actual words in it that you would normally have. I think that this will probably be really good at getting through the system or through the process faster as well, right? Because it's digital and cloud-based. And so as soon as you do it, I don't believe we have the notification set up yet, but there will be notifications when it's your turn to sign it, kind of a deal. So it shows up in your queue. So I think that'll kind of get you through these steps a little faster. Yep. Kevin, was there anything that you found in it that might need adjusting?
I think just, guidance on how to use it, not necessarily adjustment, but it sounds like if I understood you right, like what I was doing is that a couple of things I was copying and pasting into that comments section, but it sounds like that's going to be used for communication between the project engineer and the inspector instead of really putting documentation of the change order itself. I say documentation, I mean like language, like the actual change order language.
Oh, so you're saying, so we have comments, but that would be more like a chat between the people working on the change order, but you're saying you probably need a remarks field.
Well, you may not need it unless if you just put everything in that general
And that's
part
probably
that you
what
showed you.
yeah, that's probably what the intention was to get everything in your general. But I think that's something super easy HeadLight could add later if we decide that's something that
Yeah.
needs to be there. And again, with being able to add files, you can always drop a document in there if you needed to.
When is that going to be available for us to use?
That's a good question. So, Matt, you were at the meeting the other day. Tranisha and DJ kind of, when they were giving their presentation, they were moving everybody towards Q1 of next year is when we're going to start to roll that out. So we'll see. You know, this stuff is the deeper we go into it, we find more things that need to be done. So I think that's an aggressive timeline, but I'm hoping so. You know, at least to start piloting, we could probably start doing that at, you know, towards the end of Q1, but full-fledged, who knows? I hate to give dates because we've been given dates and missing them. So
Les.
Yeah.
You hear me?
yeah, I can hear you, Francis.
All right. Question. I was at a pre-design meeting last Wednesday morning in St. Charles Parish for a project upcoming on LA 52. It's phase 2 of 3 phases. It's a state project because it's on a state route, but St. Charles Parish had requested this project. Basically, it's a route that has open drainage ditches on both sides of the roads and no sidewalks. So that's kind of the scope of the project. Now, with regards to change orders, are provisions being made to basically it's an LPA project, local public agency. Now, in the past, in site manager, what would happen with those is the local entity got listed in site manager as the contractor. And the contractor was kind of left out of the pecking order, so to speak. The actual contractor doing the work.
Yep.
It's like gonna have any kind of implementation to try and go there, because on phase 1, what happened was because it was a state route, they basically did a CE&I project, but that St. Charles was still having to put up their part of the funding because they requested that project. And they were left out of the change order, pecking order, so to speak. They weren't in it. So they never got to see and do approvals. The next phase is going to be a little different, where it will be, even though it's on the state route, an LPA project. I was just wondering, I mean, in the past, what would have to happen is you print out a copy of the draft change order, draw a line for the actual construction contractor to sign off and date on it, email it to them, and then they sign and date it, scan it back, and email it back to the P, and you had to upload it as an attachment to the change order.
Yeah. So to answer your question is, yes, I'm kind of aware of that process in the past, what we've been having to do, and that's a limitation of site manager is the reason that has to happen that way. So HeadLight is not limited in those ways. They can put in whatever we want them to put in. So we're hoping to fix that process.
Okay.
By being able to add them. Now, is that done already? I couldn't tell you, but I know that it's 100% possible in their system. But I'm pretty sure we've already mentioned that to them. I mean, they've already, so the user roles that are being added, Patrick, you might be able to help me out. Do you know if LPA is one of those user roles?
Yes, and they're supposed to be, I don't know if they have them set up, but they're supposed to be able to generate alternative workflows for contracts labeled as LPA, such that we'll be able to basically, instead of having to always fit into that same workflow and finagle things around, they'll just have the option of, if it's an LPA contract, we can, structure how we want the approval chain to go, so that we can have that extra step or two, have that extra approver or two.
That's a great question, Francis. Thanks for bringing that up, because those are things we need to be thinking about as we're, trying to move towards this. You can put software in place that handles 98% of what we do, but the other 2% messes everything up. So being able to have those alternative workflows, is helpful for us.
Yeah, the reason I recalled is because I had a pre-design meeting last Wednesday morning at St. Charles Parish.
All right, so I guess we're still, since we're kind of done with all the demos and that kind of thing, this is our Q&A time. So if anybody has questions on anything not related to what we just talked about or not related, you're welcome to bring them up here. And if not, we'll be closing soon.
Hey, Les.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have a question about, I think we had talked about before, the access levels of like field book. So another office manager cannot edit another office manager's entries. Is there any way we can change that?
So currently, no. There's not anything right now. So Fieldbook only has, I believe it's 5 or maybe 6 user levels, and that's it. So currently, if you have Office Manager, which I think is the highest you can have in a field unit, and there's another Office Manager, then basically you're kind of stuck there and can't edit their stuff. Now, when we implement contract administration, like we said, they're adding tons of different user levels, and we'll be able to fix some of that stuff. So I believe, I can't remember. You might have to remind me, but it was something about the way maybe you were trying to review their reports. Was that what it was?
Yeah, so like my position, I'm an assistant project engineer. So we have another assistant in our office, and we also have a tech 7. So if one of them is on a project that I'm reviewing diaries for, and it might be something, a little simple mistake, a typo or something, I can't just fix it for them right away. I have to get them to go into their diary and fix it, and they have to fix it themselves.
Let me ask you this: Do either one of them approve diaries? Or are you the only one approving diaries?
No, they do also sometimes for other projects.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say we could put them as office staff, which is just one, level down, and that might fix the problem, but it kind of depends on your situation and how they are performing those duties to other, people.
Yeah, and I know the lower level inspectors, if there's a typo, I can correct it.
Yeah, it's not the inspector. It's just other like equivalent office managers, I guess.
Yeah, that's right, Jimmy. You're right. Like the people who have a lower user level than you're able to adjust their stuff. But when it's, say, I think you guys have another Tech 7 in there, Jimmy, and if y'all have the same thing, you couldn't edit each other's stuff. I think a fix is coming, Joshua, but for right now, no, I think you're kind of stuck with that. And I get it, just a typo or something, it would be best just to go ahead and fix that. But
Yeah, I guess it's not a huge deal. I was just curious,
it's
would
one of
make it a
those
little easier.
niceties. Yeah, it's one of those niceties and ease of workflow.
That's it.
Thanks. Appreciate that question.
I got a couple questions about sampling plans and ATMs, I guess, material codes. Some of the other P's in here I guess Kevin Adams might have an opinion about it too. When we're generating an initial sampling plan to give to the contractor at the pre-con, has anyone done that yet to know how specific a sampling plan they're generating? How many material codes are you assigning? Based off of what you expect to receive, but you don't necessarily know specifically what material codes are going to be required, if that makes sense.
I'm going to see if there's another PE that has suggestions about that. I'm going to let you go ahead and talk, but I do want to show you something, Matt. We kind of discussed this at the meeting, but I didn't really have time to show you. I do want to show you one thing that's in place now that might help you with that. But if there are other PEs that have some advice there, you can go ahead and share it.
Matt, so far, what is it? The only thing that we've done, like with HeadLight sample plan, has just been put the material codes in there so that way the inspectors can generate their samples, but haven't given them a PDF printout of the HeadLight sampling plan yet.
Okay. But I guess that, like, at some point, that's what we're going to have to do. At least that's my understanding of it.
I'm assuming so. Yeah, that would be a question probably for HQ construction.
So I think long term, the plan is for you to not have to give it to them at all. So they will have an access to it. Is where we're going with that. In fact, HeadLight has some other technology that we don't utilize yet. One of them is called Smart Forms, and it's basically an app that allows people from outside the normal organization, and I don't necessarily mean LPAs, I mean possibly LPAs, but specifically contractors can use that to send documents in or fill out forms, whatever we put in the app. And so I think long term, we're looking towards where they would have a view of sample plan, kind of like the read only field book that they have now. It'd be kind of read only sample plan, but also be able to submit their QC documents through that, which would be really great for us instead of us having to take paper from them that's stamped with their QC thing, right? It would go directly into the system using it. So the contractor would have an input to HeadLight, and it would just be in the project. Because right now, what happens to that documentation? It gets put in a box somewhere and stored at your office for what, 5 years or whatever the new thing is that you have to keep it for. So I think that's where we're moving with that, long term.
Hey, Matt. Hey, I think your original question was how detailed the sampling plan needs to be. Was that correct?
Yes.
Well, we just started creating them. And look, I district away the lab, makes them. But I'm putting just the tangible samples in as initial sampling plan. And I'm letting the PE office populate it in accordance with the sampling manual to actually fill it. I don't think, as far as knowing, how many many dances you're gonna take, you're not gonna know that until you start
Correct.
counting. I mean,
Like for example, like so. All right, so for asphalt, like I know I'm going to take asphalt cores, but prior to the project starting, I don't know if we're going to have PG 67, 70, 76, 82. I don't know if I'm going to have emulsion XYZ for tack because there's like 4 or 5 options. I don't know, what type of anti-strips in the asphalt. I don't know guardrail, all the different things. So I'm wondering what's the requirement that we're required to give the contractor prior to, like how specific.
Yeah, and look, that's what we do. I'm just putting in the basic, tangible. I know they're going to be sampling for usable if I know they're going to have a pit, but for asphalt, I know be honest with you, I'm leaving the asphalt section blank because I don't, even for the lab's perspective, I don't know what they're going to submit by the time the pre-con comes around, right? I don't know what mixes on it, so I'm not including anything in that.
Yeah, thanks, Jordan, for that. So what you need to remember is the initial sample plan is the base stuff that we're trying to collect. You're trying to inform the contractor, hey, these are the things we're trying to sample. And it's basically an agreement between the PE and the district lab. Hey, we think this is the base of what we're trying to get. And so I think that's the advice. Like, yes, there's no way you can be exact at the beginning of the project. There are some things, like how many sacks of dirt do I need? Well, if I've got 5,000 yards, I know I need 5 sacks. And so that's not a big deal, but I see exactly what you're saying. And this is what I want to show you. So the thing that was put in place here, so I'm going to the 502 section just because you brought it up. So if I were to go add a new material here, you have all these material codes that are, let me see if there are even 502 material codes. It's probably just, the 502 is just for the cores, right? When you're looking through this list of material codes, if you go here and uncheck show all materials, so these first things that show up here, let me see if I can adjust this to where you can see it. I don't know if it will or not. So if I scroll over here, you see how these have just four capital letters of what they are? These are called categories. And so I'm sorry, I'm closed it out. I'm getting too clicky. So uncheck show all materials, and then you have categories here. Now, if I add additive asphalt here, let's see if it actually showed up. Where would it be? It's going to be in my list somewhere.
Looked like it was at the top.
There you go, at the top, right? So if I go in here and add a sample type, and I'm just going to add an acceptance. So I'm adding this to my sample plan, and this could be in the initial, right? And I'm going to save it. And I'm, obviously you want the right rate and frequency here, but I'm not worried about that right now. I'm just trying to show you how it works. And then I'm going to go to materials. This may take a minute.
So while that's loading, I was talking with Jordan about this morning. We are looking at doing a massive data cleanup as far as material goes as we work with HeadLight on the new limbs. And one of those is looking at consolidation of material codes. Like I know right now you have the material in use has a unique code for each combination of that. In a lot of cases, we could have just the single material code and the item code dictates the use, or have a secondary use code that gets selected when you're actually creating the sample. So that would help simplify a lot of this, especially at the sampling plan level and the early usage level, as far as being able to select the right material code while you're out in the field and then dictate the use when it's actually needed.
So what I've done, so I went in, let's go back. So I added the category for additive asphalt, right? And I saved that. I added a acceptance sample type to it. This is what I kind of refer to it as a placeholder. This is like, okay, we know something needs to be sampled here. We don't know exactly what it's going to be, which is great for an initial sample plan because all we're trying to do is get the base of what we're going to sample. But then in HeadLight materials, this is under the dashboard. So if you come here in the dashboard, you go down, so super pave concrete. So I have that additive asphalt here. When I go to create a sample from the dashboard using that category, the first thing that's going to pop up is a list of what is in that category to select. Individual material codes that are in there to select. If it'll load, we'll see. All right, so you can see it's still loading here, but you can see my additive asphalt. So this is my category. These are everything. These are all of the individual material codes that are inside of that category. And so at this point, then you can select the actual thing that you want to sample here. And I believe there's one for PG grades. Seems like I found one, but I'm not sure.
Yes, asphalt binder.
Oh, okay, well, let's go look at it while we're here. Close it.
It was at the bottom of your list when you had to pull it up.
Yep, there it is. Asphalt binder liquid. So if you were to add this category, you don't have to add all of these individual PG67, PG70. You don't add all of these. You add the category for binder liquid, and then from the dashboard, you would be able to select the one that you're actually using.
And so, like I was saying, that's going to kind of be the goal, is to move the sampling plan where it's more category based, and then as you're actually taking samples, it fills in those level of details.
Yep. Matt, does that help at all with the categories?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to figure out how we're going to generate these sampling plans ahead of time. And then it's just tedious adding all these items. On a small project, it's no big deal. But like, I guess, for example, guardrail was another one I was looking at. There's a guardrail material code that's just acceptance guardrail system. Like, could we use that instead of 6 other individual material codes?
Absolutely.
And then just upload all the certs to that one passing sample ID, I guess.
I think that's why it's there. So once that material code came out, that's the only one I ever used.
Yeah,
I mean,
and then maybe we could make some more generic ones like that for some of these other items.
Yeah, you have that for
Blanket
steel.
material codes.
Yeah,
You have that for steel too.
yeah, good
Right.
point. Yep. Yeah, anytime you see one that says system, I say use it. That's going to
Yeah.
be much better and easier than the individuals.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, maybe we can create some more of those.
the individuals, if you're actually sampling that specific item.
Yeah.
You would select a specific.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, Matt, what it is that with the site manager global template with so many different types of material codes and different types of materials like that, which you're talking about, I'm gonna go back to a great example, bolts. The bolts and the nuts. Look at how many different options that there are. So some of the materials that had like thousands of material codes, they created just one material code as like, quote, a project engineer acceptance via CD, CA, or CC. But then those individual material codes would be the ones if a sample actually gets sent to materials lab.
And I think they simplified it to the point where y'all are creating just a fastener acceptance when you send it to the materials lab, and then they're creating the actual sample
Correct.
and linking it to the fastener acceptance. So that the person in the field doesn't have to go into that level of detail. They literally just sample fastener, assign the acceptance test to it and send it to MATLAB, and MATLAB creates the secondary sample, fills in the details, and links it to the person.
We have lots of work to do on our material side.
I think
that's
trying to
we're
simplify.
looking at cleaning all this up to make a simpler system for a lot of the.
I guess another thing that I've thought about after, like, I've done one now and submit an ATM, if they could work in a way that from the sampling plan app, you could actually maybe create a sample as well, instead of having to use multiple apps at the same time, like to go back and forth. Because like for certs and stuff, like, do we really need to make a sample ID and all that? Or can I just like tag something on an item number? If I'm not actually going to have a physical sample, I'm just going to have a piece of paper. Is there a way we could eliminate the whole process of a sample ID?
I think the sample ID was put in place so that it's easier to find, right? So you don't want a bunch of random CDs all over the project uploaded as files and then not have a way to sort through those. Now, Matt, one of the things when we originally started out capturing CDs, CAs, and CCs with a sample ID in HeadLight, like our advice was create a sample ID, attach the form, and attach the supporting image form and take a picture of it. And then we move to, I'm trying to show you like the steps of where we're going, where we have been with this. You would do the supporting image form, take a picture of your CD, upload it to that sample ID. And then the next time you got one, you had to create another sample ID, upload that image. And then some people were like, hey, we get these. There's like, sometimes they email them to us. It's 50. It's too hard to print them out, take a picture of them. So we moved to, if you have PDFs, you can do it under the test result form, which is still good advice. But one of the things we have moved to is that you create one sample ID, and every CD that is related to that, you attach it to the same sample ID. So you're only creating one sample ID per project. That does a couple things. One, you don't have to create a sample ID every time. Two, it makes it a lot easier for the lab to view it and to get to it because it's listed under one sample ID instead of many. So if you do a sample ID, attach a form to it, upload a CD, and you close it out, right? It's saved. You can always go back to that and continue to add. The same person can continue to go back and add CDs to that same form.
And
It's almost
just a-
like a document placeholder, right? Almost like a section of your binder that you would turn in that was paper.
And just to pitch it, we're also looking at a kind of similar to e-ticketing, an electronic certification application where all your certs will essentially be uploaded in one location and you assign it to a project. And we're using AI language models to actually filter through the cert, and it can run summary reports of how many you got from what location, how much material was delivered, what time frame it was delivered. Was it the correct cert for the correct time frame? There's a lot of information that we can just pull at a mass to supplement the project file and supplement the final closeout of the project just by simply getting the supplier, or getting the plant, or getting whoever's generating the cert to upload this into one location and link it to your project. And we're making sure that all that's going to talk with HeadLight as well, so that information will be readily available at your fingertips in the field.
But it would be something similar to like they do in LaPave when they download the job mix formulas and all that.
Right, where you can just pull, give me everything related to my project, or give me everything related to this material for my project, or just give me a summary where, it just kicks out a summary of how many certs you had and a summation of quantities. So there's a lot of moving pieces to this, and we're trying to make sure that they all work and all play together and all kind of synchronize so it looks like one continuous system. But we hear a lot of these pain points. We've heard them for years, and we're slowly but surely taking steps to overtake these pain points, from the material code selection to the sampling plan. What do I pick? So as we talk with these vendors that are building these new applications, updating these applications, I put this type of information up front. Like, these are what my users are looking for. These are what my users are wanting. This is that ease of use, quality of life. It's great you can do the same functionality, but I want it to do better, to make the workflow more efficient, to make the workflow a lot easier for the guy out in the field. So we're getting there. It's just baby steps. We can't make that jump overnight. It's something that a little bit of trial and error and piece by piece. But you can see just stuff like e-ticketing and the virtual field book with HeadLight in the field. We've come a long way over the last few years, taking these steps, and now it's almost second nature for most people. So just keep in mind, this is a moving machine, and we continue to update. And definitely any type of feedback, this is the forum. Get those ideas out there, because Les and myself take notes, and we take this to heart and take it when we start talking with HeadLight, Hall Hub, and all these other groups. And I spread this at a national level as well, so it's not just a Louisiana effort, it's a national effort to overcome some of these challenges.
All right, I'd love to take some more questions since we have lots of discussion going on here. That's usually the best part of these webinars, but we are already over time. So we're going to go ahead and end it. Thank you all for the extra time today. We appreciate all those questions, and we like hearing those pain points so that we can work on them. Tanisha, anything you need to say before we head out?
One quick thing, that the undo option for observations is web only at the moment. It's currently web only. So if you delete an observation and need to redo it, then that's web only at the moment. Just want to clarify that.
Yep. Appreciate the update. All right, everybody. See you next month. Thanks again. Have a good one.
Thanks, Les. Thanks for